Well, what does all this mean for the broader political landscape? We're joined now by two MPs who may have some sympathy with this group but have decided to stay. Labour's Stephen Kinnock and the Conservative MP Dominic Grieve, the Theresa May loyalist Damien Green, and Leila Moran from the Liberal Democrats, a party that has the same number of MPs as this new independent group, and who also claim to occupy the centre ground. Good evening to you all. Damien Green, first of all, there is no doubt, listening to those senior backbench women, they lay a lot of blame at this at the door of Theresa May, not just on the immigration thing, but on the ERG, on having a tin ear.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree that the ERG has taken over the Conservative Party. I think Anna's sort of has tried during the day to say it's just the same as the Labour Party. That's palpably not right, because Jeremy Corbyn's inner team has had to clear out people like Stephen, Yvette, Cooper, Hilary Benn and so on. But actually, if you look at the cabinet, it actually represents all strands of the Conservative Party, including the strand which Anna, frankly, and I both belong to, the sort of one nation traditional strand.
But at the moment, the group with the whip hand is the ERG. When Theresa May lost the meaningful vote, she didn't call you in to say, help me out here, how can we move forward with this? The ERG were the first lot to troop in. That sent a very clear signal.
I mean, that's not true either. I mean, the new piece of policy that has actually found a majority in the House of Commons is the Malthouse Compromise, which is specifically both wings of the Conservative Party. It is members of the ERG getting together with people like Nicky Morgan, Stephen Hammond, Robert Buckland on the left of the Conservative Party to try and craft a compromise.
And do you believe that compromise has been crafted? It doesn't seem to appear to be crafted to the liking of ERG members.
Well, it's a work in progress, but there are ERG members working on it, along with people not in the ERG. So I just think this idea that the Tory party has become unbalanced is just wrong.
But yet you have fellow cabinet ministers, you know who they are, Amber Rudd, David Gauke, and Greg Clark, who may actually leave the cabinet. If a no deal is not taken off the table, they'll go.
Well, I think no deal would be a complete disaster. I don't want that to happen. That's why I've been supporting a deal. That's why I've been on this working group with these people who've worked out the Malthouse Compromise, because I think it's really important.
Would you personally, seriously, think actually it would be a better idea for the whole country, for the kind of ease of the country, if a no deal was taken off the country? You can be honest now, there's less than 900 hours to go.
Well, I've never quite understood what taking it off the table means. It's a sort of phrase
I'll tell you what it means. It means if we get to that point, you either revoke or you extend Article 50 until we've worked it out. That's what it means.
Fine. I don't think, I mean, despite, I campaigned as hard as anyone for Remain, but I don't think we should have a second referendum. But I do think that a deal is possible, and that would be much the best thing, not just for the party, we've been talking about the party, but for the country.
Yeah, so that, again, in a sense, is getting into that Brexit argument again right now. But Dominic Grieve, you have been with Anna Soubry. You've been in these conversations with Theresa May. You've seen her try to use her persuasive powers. Fallen on deaf ears?
Yes, it has fallen on deaf ears. I think the argument that she's been putting forward, indeed I've been putting forward to the Prime Minister, is that you should look at the 2016 referendum result in the light of the reality in which we are now facing, and that therefore excluding, whether it was the initial exclusion by the red lines, a single market or a customs union, or today excluding the possibility of a further referendum when there's quite a lot of evidence of public opinion shifting, is a serious mistake. And ultimately, it is handing the Prime Minister and the government into the hands of the ERG, who are bullying the government in a particular direction.
Do you have sympathy with what these three women did today?
Complete sympathy, and indeed admiration for their courage, because it's a very difficult decision.
Would you do it?
For me, I want to continue this argument within the party, of which I've been a member for about 45 years. And I think it's an argument worth making. I can't predict where I might be if the party goes completely off the rails.
And what
That's
would
another
be
matter.
Well, let's unpack that a bit, because you have been loyal, you've stuck in, you've fought from the inside. But what would off the rails look like to you? What would occasion your departure?
I think that's a hypothetical question, because there are a number of different strands that could feed into it. Firstly, I would certainly cease to take the whip if I thought the government was about to take us into a no-deal Brexit. Absolutely clear about that. I regard it as so disastrous for the country that I would have to use every opportunity available to me to stop it. The second one...
If it meant joining the group, you would do that?
Well, it's not a question of joining... I mean, the group is a group of independent MPs.
Yes.
The key point is, would a no deal, the threat of the government which I am supporting, implementing a no deal Brexit, what would I do?
Yes.
I would not be able to maintain my support of the government. I'm quite clear about that.
So you would leave the party?
I would have to leave the party, yes.
You know, that is extraordinary now, isn't it? Because we're in a situation where this has got to such a pass that Theresa May has failed to negotiate properly within her own party, that someone like Dominic would leave.
I don't think she's been negotiating within her own party. She's been negotiating with the European Union.
But you need to bring your party with you, is what I think.
But what you need is a deal. I mean, Dominic and I would agree on that, and that's what you have to do. That's what we have to do now. I think, frankly, in the position of the country now, the idea of whether individuals are taking whips or not taking whips is second order to are we going to get a deal that allows us to have an orderly Brexit?
And I'm going to come back to talk about, in a sense, about May and Corbyn in a minute. But this idea that, and this is from Dominic, she does not listen to the people who do not agree with her.
Well, she does listen to them, but she disagrees with them by definition. When people say somebody's not listening to me, what they often say is, well, they disagree with me. And it seems the Prime Minister, like all of us, have a perfect right to say, look, this is my view, I've heard what you say, but I disagree with you.
Well, I'm going to, before we bring in Stephen Kinnock, let's pause for a moment. And we're going to look to Labour now to mention the shortest ever re-entry to the party by the expelled former militant leader Derek Hatton. 34 years out of the party, 2 days in, his re-entry cited by several Labour MPs on this programme as an outrage. Today, before the announcement of Hatton's new suspension following an investigation into a tweet about Jewish people, this was Barry Gardiner, the Shadow International Development Secretary at the Dispatch Box, in a cold fury.
I think it was a travesty that, at least I think many of us knew for some while, that he had applied to rejoin the party. But for the news of his readmission to come to public attention on the very day, when some members of our party were forced out for it, I think was appalling.
Very bad news.
Well, of course, Stephen, this will resonate with you because, of course, Derek Hatton was the man that tried to take your father down, essentially. But what did Derek Hatton's re-entry to the party, albeit for 2 days, tell you about the party under Jeremy Corbyn's leadership?
I think we get a bit too hung up on Mr. Hatton's significance. He's entirely irrelevant. 34 years ago this happened. My initial reaction was, Derek, who? I mean, who is he? Where has he been for the last 30 years? I think we need to stop obsessing about the past
in a sense,
and start thinking about the future.
Yeah, but you would have been happy to see Derek Hatton back in the party.
I think that it's made a bit of a mockery of the disciplinary process that this tweet has emerged, which has anti-Semitic overtones, and that wasn't part of the disciplinary process. Why was he allowed back into the party in the first place? But legally and constitutionally in our party, if you've been out of the party and you reapply and you pass through the processes, then you're back in. There's not much we can do about that. I think people like Derek Hatton live off the oxygen of publicity. Let's not give it to him.
But you said and the reason I think that's an illustration is you've been very clear that you think the party has to change.
Yes.
In sense, how long do you give it? Do you give it, less than 900 hours? Because are you in a position where you might follow the others into this independent group?
I joined the Labour Party in 1985. I am Labour to my fingertips. No one person or faction is bigger than the party. My commitment to the Labour Party is unconditional. My commitment to the leadership is conditional. And it is conditional on having an offer to the British people that reaches out, brings people together, and isn't a party driven by a hard left faction. And we need to be in the party arguing for that, not quitting and running away, but staying and fighting.
But and you said the idea that the party is driven by a hard left faction, you would suggest presumably would turn off a lot of traditional Labour voters. Tom Watson has made it clear, in order to get the change, part of the change that you want, there should be a reshuffle to represent what on the shadow cabinet is a broad swathe of opinion. Is that absolutely crucial?
I agree. I mean, I think we've got Parliamentary Labour Party on Monday. It's critical that Jeremy comes to that meeting and talks to us about how he sees the changes. Tom Watson and John McDonnell are absolutely right. We've got to see this as a chance now to listen and to take stock and to change, and we need to see clear evidence of that. But I'm not going to put a timeline on, or conditions in terms of will I quit the party? No, I won't, because I believe politics is about being in and persuading and winning with the force of your argument.
So what do
That's
you
why
think?
we're in it for.
Well, what do you think about the group, the group that went, the 8 that went? What do you think? Were they wrong to do it? But this was the courage of their convictions.
I think a lot of what they've been saying is right, but what they've done is not right. I think that they should be staying in. The country is going through an existential crisis at the moment. The Labour Party has also been in something of an existential crisis. Let's take one crisis at a time. Let's fix the country. Let's get through Brexit. Let's get a Labour government with radical economic policies that can actually address the causes of why so many millions of people voted for Brexit in the first place.
Well, turning to you, Leila, I mean, obviously, the echoes of the SDP in 1981 sort of come to mind.
Yeah.
Quite a different situation. Now, of course, to be fair to say, the Liberal Democrats are not on a high. You're being asked if you would go and join. Anna Soubry extended the hand of friendship. Would you?
We have also extended the hand of friendship, and we've said very clearly that we're very happy to work with them on the things that we both share, so Brexit being one. In fact, the vast majority of, I think, all of those who have joined so far would like to see a much more Remain either softer Brexit or what we want, which is a referendum, which is what I hope we're going to be working towards on. Depends who else joins, though. So it needs to be sort of on case by case. We'll have to see how this evolves. But they're not a party. I mean, I think this is
can
critical.
you see if this independent group became a party, and as Anna Soubry said, this is not going to be stopped at the Brexit gate. This is a grouping for the future. Can you see, I mean, she says there's not going to be a Lib Dem independent group merger, but can you see a way in which the reclaiming of the centre ground could be something that you would do together, given that, your stock's low?
I think there's real appetite for this. And actually, I have to say, I've been really excited over the last couple of days by what they've been saying, because that's why I joined the Liberal Democrats, because I do believe that an insurgent forces in politics is a good thing. I think there have always been these stale, big main parties. And I do think that we've got a new type of voter now, a voter that is much less wedded to the red team or the blue team.
But you do
and
have
actually,
to have a
we've got
policy
to make
platform.
sure, we've got to make sure that we capture that energy. And absolutely,
but
the
do you-
Lib
but do you
Dems are
agree-
happy to be front and centre.
But do you
there.
agree, Damien, that actually this new group could actually change the shape of Conservative and Labour, that it has the capacity to do that?
It could. I think, oddly enough, it's more difficult for it to do that than it was for the SDP, because I just detect less coherence.
But
Because
they say that's the old politics, having to decide on a manifesto now and having to decide on a policy.
Yes, but it's not. I
No,
mean,
no,
it is
no.
just politics.
think-
having some
Anna
policies.
Soubry stood up and praised George Osborne's austerity
Yes.
agenda.
Yes.
How does that leave the Labour members of that group?
Well,
Yeah.
Yes, well, that was a
praising-
question put to them.
but
But they
praising
say
the
that's the
policies
old
that smashed the
politics.
country.
It doesn't matter
But I think
exactly.
I
think what you've got to understand is that this is genuinely a group of independent MPs who have come together because they've formed a working relationship and a relationship of trust over a period of 12 to 18 months when they have been pilloried and bullied within their own parties. And therefore there is a huge amount of goodwill between and within the group. Now, I think Damien's got a very good point. Whether that then develops into a party that presents a series of policies is, I think, a very
But it's
open
more than-
And we
question.
won't know that till
But
by-election.
it's more than
well,
policies.
you
It's
won't
also
know
about-
that but we won't know that till by-elections.
No.
And in any case, these things, the world wasn't made in a day, and the political party isn't going to put itself together in a very short period. At the moment, it is absolutely focused on one issue because it's the single biggest issue dominating the country, which is Brexit. And on that, they are talking with one
Dominic's
voice.
right.
And would you advise them on their Brexit strategy?
No, I don't think I need to advise them on their Brexit strategy because I know exactly what their Brexit strategy is. They've been very, very consistent about it. And indeed, I share their approach to Brexit totally.
But what
It's
about
just
the
that I was
timing
looking-
of this,
but the-
Dominic? Sure. You're
if I-
campaigning for a second referendum. Do you think that what's happened has helped or hindered
Yeah,
the campaign for a second referendum?
My
I
own,
think
my
it's
own
helped
feeling
it.
is it's probably not made
I
any
think it's
significant
helped it.
difference.
I
But
think-
it might. It's certainly
Yeah.
I
not.
think it has
I don't think it's
helped it.
damaged.
You think
I
it's
think
helped
it's
it?
helped it because it's re-energised some of this. I helped to launch the People's Vote campaign with Chuka and Anna. We want to make sure that this happens. I think for people out there watching this, they're looking at it going, something we predicted 2 years ago has finally
you've
happened.
lost the Labour
Let's
Party
hope.
now. You've
Let's
lost the
hope
Labour
that the
Party
People's Vote now happens.
Thank you all very much.